Hey, everybody, it's Ron Johnson, and it's Friday, so you know what that means. It's time for the Roundtable. Hey, you beautiful people out there, I want to thank you guys for watching, joining. Hey, if you're watching live now, go tell a friend to join on YouTube. This is Locked On Sports Minnesota. I'm Ron Johnson, and we got our Roundtable on a Friday. We got Julia Daniels from KARE 11. Julia Daniels might be the next governor. We'll talk about that. I don't know what's going on there. She might lead the world. We don't know. But we got Reggie Wilson as well from KARE 11. He's going to be promoting everything she does. And we got Sam Ekstrom, the executive producer who does it all. And again, this is Locked On Sports Minnesota. This is the Friday Roundtable. We cover an array of sports. We cover all kinds of topics. We cover Kendrick Lamar and Drake if we need to. We can cover the Kardashians if we want to, but we got to get locked in on these topics. So what you got for us, Julia?
I'm going to be talking about the Lynx Commissioners Cup and Napheesa Collier. Is she still the front runner for MVP this year?
That's Big Fee, not the little one. Yeah, Reggie Wilson, KARE 11, as Ron said. They're making me talk about Bronny, but also the Wolves cut bait on Wendell Moore Jr. after a couple seasons.
And the Wolves made some moves on draft night, including taking Terrence Shannon Jr. with number 27. We're going to talk about Terrence and what he brings to the table.
I called it.
And nobody's making Reggie talk about anything he doesn't love talking about, which is his Lakers. He loves the Lakers. He sleeps in a Bron jersey. And now he's gonna have a Bron jersey, like picture in picture from like FaceTime. It'll be a Bron and it'll be a Bronny in the little corner up there. It'll be an iPhone framed. Oh yeah, he's got Savannah James's like birth records underneath it. Like, you know, he's got a picture of all the kids and Bryce. Like, just think about this. Bryce is coming. Can Bryce and Bronny be teammates, or will LeBron be, what would we be, 46? We're going to talk about that. We'll talk about what LeBron has done. And I got some things to say about that too, because I am all for this, because we've seen a lot of this in all sports, and now y'all mad. Don't be mad now. Keep that same energy. But we'll talk about that. I want to get too started too fast, because we got to start the show off with the topic of the week. The Timberwolves had the 27th pick, and that's all everybody thought they were going to do. Pick at 27. Who's at 27? Could it be Bronny? No. They went and got Rob Dillingham with the swap of picks, and nobody thought that was coming. So we're going to talk about that, what that means, and how the Timberwolves could come out as winners in this NBA draft. We'll talk about all that much more coming up. But I want everybody to know today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Just download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Locked On to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. But again, there are a lot of Twins games, a ton of Twins games. I went on there on the Game Time app myself. If you want to go to a Twins game, these Twins, we're not talking about them today, but I want you guys to know, I'm going to bring up a stat. They are on pace. Since they went 7-13, they are on a 101 win pace. They are pacing right now to win 90 games this season. Now, unfortunately, Carlos Correa left the game after an arm injury, but they still have Byron Buxton. I think he hit the ball, they said 465 feet. So please make sure if you want to go check out the Twins, just use the Game Time app, download any platform you have, search Game Time, and then put in the code Locked On for your first purchase. You get $20 off. That might even be free tickets to a Twins game. You might just have to pay for the fees. But again, Game Time. It's a great app to use. Real secure. Don't have to worry about scalpers. Well, let's jump into the show, people. I'm not going to take up too much time. I'm just going to say the Twins did it. They won. They won the draft, in my opinion, for their little group of teams that everybody talks about. Because in this draft, if you think about trying to go win this, this upcoming season or the next season, the Timberwolves set themselves up. Everybody's like, are they going to trade Cat? Are they going to trade Rudy? What are they going to do before the draft? Are they going to try to unload one of these large contracts and then get a bunch of, picks and small picks here and there like the Knicks? The Knicks said, screw that. We don't want to trade our big. We're going to keep him. We're going to re-sign Obi. We're going to go out, or OG, sorry, and we're going to go out and we're going to add more pieces. We're going to get the Villanova 2016 champions in our building. The Timberwolves said, you know what? Everybody's wondering about who's going to back up Mike Conley. Mike Conley needs to come off the floor because he's old. Well, let's go out here and get Rob Dillingham. Rob Dillingham is in a place to be Aaron Rodgers. Mike Conley could be considered not Brett Favre's stature, but Brett Favre in his leadership, his ability, and what he's done for this team. And now Rob Dillingham can go out there and be behind him. And the Timberwolves trading with the Spurs, they gave up a 2031, I think unprotected pick, and then a 2030 protected pick. And Sam explained it to me. I'll explain a little bit more. But basically, if they're better than some of these other teams, I think it's basically just the Dallas. They don't even have to give up that pick. So now it's one pick in 2031. By 2031, Bronny might be the MVP of the NBA. We don't know what 2031 is going to look like. 2031, our cars might actually drive themselves legit. Like there might be a drive yourself lane where you jump into that lane, it's going to take you out of town. We don't know what 2030 is going to, but we do know this. The Timberwolves have 6 years to get everything they can out of this Rob Dillingham trade. And I'd say probably 2 or 3 with Cat, Mike Conley, Rob Dillingham, Rudy Gobert, and Karl-Anthony Towns. But now Rob Dillingham can come in with Mike Conley. He's another guard that can be on the floor when you're playing against these teams that have these guards you're worried about guarding that point guard. You now have a guy in that. I don't know. What are your thoughts about this, Julia?
I think that this is, we heard Connolly and Finch talk about Rob Dillingham. I also want to bring up the fact that, and I know, Reggie, I think you talked about this too, how they brought in Derek Falvey and Kwesi to the draft room on draft night to help with this decision-making skills. Falvey said that this is the first time he's ever been in another sports draft room on draft night before. I think this was something that we didn't really expect. I know our Care 11 sports group chat blew up when this happened. We're all like, wait, we did not see the Wolves doing something like this. No one predicted anything like this. But this was like the only move that they could have possibly made here. I don't think there were any other options for them, and everything broke their way. I think it was, phenomenal. I think it was Derek. I think it was Falvey that was saying he had never seen somebody like so on top of the decision-making skills as Tim Connolly was in the draft room that night. And it clearly worked out in their favor. I think Rob Dillingham is a great pick. I think it's better than what Wolves fans were expecting for the draft. And he'll make a great, I think he'll, obviously be a bench player next year, but he's the addition that they needed, especially offensively. I think this is a great pick for the Wolves.
Sam.
Yeah, Tim Connolly is coming out of this again, looking like a genius. All the quotes about Tim kind of beautiful minding it and making these beast moves, moving up to number 8, giving up a pick again 6-7 years in the future. Not sure what the Spurs are doing exactly. Connolly looks great. He adds instant offense to a team that if you want to knock them, they didn't always have answers on offense if Ant was having a cold night or if Cat was having a cold night. Dillingham might not have the defensive acumen that the Timberwolves are looking for with their defensive culture, but he is certainly going to give you instant offense from a guard position on the other end of the floor. And that is something the Timberwolves lacked. For his size, he is fearless around the rim. He can shoot threes at a 45% clip, at least in his 1 year at Kentucky. And just an insane natural scorer. I think Connolly's quote was, he's a bucket. And that's pretty accurate. Now, at 6'1", 160, the size will be a limitation. But I think the offense is going to be special right away. So the question is he the Mike Connolly succession plan? Is he your backup point guard this year? I can't wait to see it unfold because at 19, think about his offensive upside if he's already this good offensively. This is a home run move that they still got. I can't believe they still got their other first-round pick. That's what makes this a really incredible night for the Wolves, that they got 2 first-round picks, and this is a team that desperately needed to inject young talent at cost-controlled in a cost-controlled way. So great move by Connolly. I can't wait to watch the player.
Yeah, that to me, your last point, Sam, was probably the biggest point here. We did the basketball party on Wednesday and we talked about like free agent targets, and we're like just scraping the bottom of the barrel of guys that, I think I threw out Gordon Hayward, and we're like, oh, is Slow-Mo going to come back? And, all these things. Well, we did see, from Bobby Marks' tweet that, the luxury tax bill goes up from like 56 to 84 million with getting Rob Dillingham. But at the same time, you don't know if you're going to be able to sign any valuable free agents because of your cap limitations. So what do? You go out and improve in the draft. And yeah, it might take a while for these guys to assimilate into the league and the speed of the game and the pace and the physicality, all those things. You know, we mentioned how Dillingham is a bit smaller of a guard, but one thing you can't teach is speed, and another is effort. I know that maybe he doesn't have the defensive acumen, as you mentioned, Sam, but with him having the speed and the effort, I think he can grow his game into, you know, being a great player on both ends of the floor. And I think about what Naz Reid said during the playoffs. He was just like, yeah, like when I came into the league, I wasn't really much of a defensive player. I just, you know, I like to score, and I thought I did my best damage on the offensive end. But Finchie challenged me to be a better defensive player, and now that's something that I actually look forward to, is some of the defensive matchups that I get. And so if Finchie is kind of instilling that type of attitude in the players, like, I can only imagine that Dillingham is just going to rise in that department.
And when you look, sorry.
No, but that being said, like, he's a bucket. As Tim Connolly said, like, the dude is speed, flash, electricity out on the court, and might be one of the most pure scorers in the draft. And I had no thought that the Wolves would even try to even go in that direction. And it just seems like, you know, Ryan, you talked about how the Knicks basically just like ran up in the Nets building with the ski mask on and just like, give me Mikal or else. And really, I don't understand what the Spurs, like, this, it seemed like a good fit when they picked Dillingham to go along with Castle, and now, you know, Wemby as well. Like, that seemed like, okay, that's a solid core that they got moving forward. That's going to, you know, elongate Pop's career as a head coach. Like, he's got his new trio, and then they just trade him away for in 2031. Who knows? The Timberwolves may not even exist in 2031. You just never know. You never know.
They might be in Vegas.
Exactly. So it's just like, what are you doing? You basically just gave him away for nothing. And I don't understand that, but I think that Tim Connolly is a madman. The Wolves tweeted, "Let Tim cook," and we just saw, like, just him, just, you know, Sam Cassell running down the court just then, like, with that type of move. Because
what a visual!
That took some, and he did his thing.
And I'll say I got to give credit to Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah. I saw Pierre Nugent tweeted that Kwesi and Tim Connolly connected, and he had him there to help him out with the draft on a multi-day draft. Like, what does this look like on a multi-day draft? This move to trade up to 8 and not get rid of your first feels a little bit Kwesi-ish. You know, leverage the future, but way far out future. And Rachel Nichols brought up a good point too, because when you look at the NBA draft and first round versus second round picks, and she kind of talked about the 55th, and I won't waste it on this. I'll wait till we get to the Bronny, but she talked about the past two number 55s. Like, you're getting nothing out of those. So why not go up and get an 8 and get a 27 when you know there's value there versus like stockpiling second round picks? And I think Tim Connolly made a great decision, realizing I don't know how much time I have left with the Timberwolves. I'm trying to create what I created with the Nuggets. And I think this is another piece to it. You add another guard where you technically, if you think about playing some of these small ball teams, because we know Kevin Durant's on the move. He's probably going to the Rockets to go with James Harden. Who knows? But now you can have Ant Edwards on one of your guards. You can have Dillingham come in and just handle like a point guard who doesn't do much, you know, and then you can still have Mike Conley in the game to facilitate. But Rob Dillingham and Anthony Edwards on the wings with Conley bringing the ball up. And I think Sam or Reggie, when you brought it up, it gives you two attackers now. Rob Dillingham, if you watch his highlights, he attacks the rim. He goes at the bigs. He's like a watered down version of Ja Morant without the pistols. Like, he is willing to get in the lane and get and run into people and do some. I'm sorry, Reggie, you knew it was coming, but he's willing to get in the lane and give you some of those points where at times we're like, man, I wish we had one other guy than Anthony Edwards to do that. Now the Timberwolves have it, and he came off the bench for the Cats, but he came off fast. I mean, you got to think about what Calipari has there. That's why he came off the bench. But but he came off the bench fast. Like he was, boom, you're in the game, or boom, you're starting this game, or you're off the fit. So he knows how to get cooking fast. He doesn't need to get worked into a game, and I think that's the key about him too. He'll be able to come off the bench and be instant offense. We thought Monte Morris was going to be the guy. He wasn't it. We thought Wendell Moore could be that guy. He's in Detroit now. Shout out to Eminem. So I love this pick to get him in the building now and maybe give him 2 years behind Mike Conley and then become the Aaron Rodgers point guard that we always wanted. But now we got to move on to some other topics. We're going to talk about Bronny because we know Reggie just, he's been dreaming about this moment that Bronny's got his name called. I know Reggie probably had a dream where, like, when I don't know if you guys saw the video of Bronny and them sitting in their little draft party. Savannah walks up with the Lakers hat. Like Reggie's like in the corner over there too. Like he's over there cheering. Instead of Bron behind the cameras, Reggie back there talking about, yeah, I knew we could do this. Like I believed in you, son. Like I knew you were going to get there. But we'll talk about Reggie's love for the Lakers and Bronny coming up next. But we got to get a word from our sponsors.
Today's Roundtable is brought to you by Game Time, an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. With the prices going down, the closer it gets to first pitch. The Twins are back in town on July 2nd, facing the Tigers. You can get into Target Field right now at Game Time for $20 to $25 for all 3 games of that series. This is a 90-win pace baseball team, folks. They're going to make a run in this playoff chase. So get in the building, get to Target Field, get to Target Center, go watch the Lynx. You might be the best team in the WNBA. Flash deals, zone deals, last minute deals, save up to 60% as the game time approaches. That also applies to concerts, comedy, and theater as well. And the lowest price guarantee credits you 110% of the difference if you find better seats. Take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
Well, now we're going to talk about Bronny in a minute, but we got to talk about Terrence Shannon because we brought this up. I think Sam said it. They didn't give up a pick. Like they didn't give up their other first round pick. So Sam, what happened with the other first round pick?
Yeah, number 27. I mean, I watched the board play out for the Timberwolves, and all the guys that we talked about on the basketball party, they were all there. I mean, Tyler Kolek, Baylor Shireman, Terrence Shannon, they were all available for Minnesota. So they really couldn't have gone wrong with this pick. And Terrence Shannon, 23 points a game last year at Illinois. Now, he's almost 24 years old. He's an older prospect, but a late bloomer. And again, instant offense that you're getting. Someone who can break down the defense, score in a lot of different ways. Most importantly to me, he's a lefty. I love my lefties. I wanted a lefty, and they got one with Terrence Shannon. But I think importantly, too, is the full-throated endorsement from Tim Connolly about his character. Remember, accused of sexual assault, found not guilty in front of a jury, and all of the evidence would suggest that is a correct and accurate verdict based on the reporting, based on the character witnesses, based on the video evidence. And Tim Connolly asserts very confidently that his character is really, really strong, and that this was an unfortunate kind of case of mistaken identity if you read the evidence, and found not guilty. So really quite an acquisition between Dillingham and Shannon, the offense that they brought in and injected into this team. Man, I mean, that's the future right there of the Timberwolves offense.
Yeah, and I do believe, like, when that 8 pick happened, when I first saw the text from everybody in our group text for basketball party, I thought they gave up 27 to move up. Like I assumed, and then I saw, I think Reggie or somebody said it, like Terrence Shannon's still on the board. And I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, they didn't give up, because I wasn't watching that part, because I'm like, wait, we're 27. Like I can wait a while. Let me get this softball game done, and then it happened. So it is a great choice to keep both first round picks, because I think these guys both can help. I don't know how much, but I don't know. Terrence Shannon, he got picked. Reggie, thoughts?
I called it. Okay. I knew it. I knew it was happening. Thank you, Sam. I appreciate that. I knew it was happening. I just felt like that was such an easy pick to make if he was still on the board. You look at it, 23 points a game. It seems like every year in college he just got better. And it, came to a high point last season when they went to the Elite Eight. He averaged 20 points a game in the Big Ten tournament and the NCAA tournament. Like, the dude can get buckets. He is another one of those gifted offensive scorers who can get to the bucket, get to the rack. He has range as well. He can shoot. And also, I think you could make him into a solid defender as well. We talked about, like, hey, will they or won't they be able to re-sign Slow-Mo? And I know they do a little bit different things because, we don't necessarily think of Slow-Mo as like this elite scorer or anything like that. But, Finchy loves the guy. But look, they get younger. I know you mentioned, he's going to be 24. He's stayed in college for 5 years. Like, he spent his time. But I think what you do get is someone who is polished, someone who you might be able to put into game situations right away and expect him to kind of do work. And I think that's what you're looking for because, you are strapped with being so top heavy with these salaries. And so I think that Tim Connolly knocked this whole thing out of the park. Like, it remains to be seen if he won in this draft because neither one of Dillingham or Shannon Jr. has played a minute of NBA basketball yet. But, like, I think for what Connolly was able to do, not really giving up much to get one of the most gifted scorers in the draft in Dillingham, and then being able to still keep the pick and get Terrence Shannon Jr., who is probably a steal at 27. Like, you got to give Tim Connolly credit, man. And he's going for it. He sees the window that the Wolves have. And when you talk about, the Quasi-isms run of the competitive rebuild, he's building, rebuilding, but staying competitive at the same time by keeping the core in place, but also supplementing those guys. And as time goes along and those guys get a little bit more mature with the Wolves, like, you just have a team that is just gelling. And, you think about how the Warriors were able to continue. Yeah, they signed Kevin Durant and all this stuff. But, like, that last team that won a ring over the Celtics, like, they grew Jordan Poole into the player that he was able to be to help them and things like that. So, like, if they continue to develop players as they can, and Dillingham and Shannon Jr. end up turning into some guys who are legit rotation guys for them, like, that's a win in this draft.
D, all of the above. I didn't know if you were going to say something, Reggie, or not, but I was going to say, hey, Reggie called this last week when we were on the podcast. Another great pick and number 3 scorer in the country, right, for this past season at Illinois. All around a great player. I do think, it has to be said that he's been dealt such a bad hand of cards. Because you look him up on the internet, you Google him, and what comes up is a bunch of articles that are like rape trial, but he does get picked by the Timberwolves, and it's kind of sad that that's the way that things have panned out for him. But I think it's looking up from here, and I do think, like Sam said, it is to be noted that the Timberwolves are backing him 100%. They did their own investigation into what was going on. They did their own fact checking. For anybody that's, wondering, because all they see when they Google him is something about a rape trial, it took a jury no time to decide that he was not guilty. And like Sam said, all of the evidence shows that, this is obviously the wrong guy. This is something bad that he somehow got mixed up into. So as a player, I hope that people can just talk about him as a player from now on. He, is a great scorer, but I also think that he can match up really well with some of the league's best guards eventually. And I think that it's to be noted as well that his college coaches, like Reggie said, have talked about how he's blossomed every single year that he's played. at a higher level. And the fact that he's able to learn and perform better through coaching and things like that is to be noted. Also, I think it's interesting how much people talk about his competitive spirit too, which is something that, you can't really put into stats, but you have a guy that is so competitive. I think they were saying like, even when he's playing Uno, he's ready to like rip your head off. That's a guy you want on your team for sure. So this is another slam dunk for the Wolves. I think he'll be another great addition to this team. And I think the first round, because they didn't have any picks in the second round, they gave them all away, but, doesn't really matter because they did so well in the first.
Well, when you think about both guys wear number 0, it's kind of funny that they probably sent a text like, hey, make sure you draft number 0. And then Tim Connolly sitting there like, oh, shoot, which one? Both of them on the board. So he's just like, let me just take both just in case I made the wrong one. But now they're going to have to fight. I don't know if they're going to play one-on-one for 0. I don't know if that's been brought up yet. Like who's going to get 0 on the team? Or if one of them is going to take a different number or what's going to happen there. But when you look at Terrence Shannon Jr., the one thing, 6'6", 225 pounds, he's another big guard that can give you some minutes coming in when Anthony Edwards is tired. If it is Rob Dillingham and Terrence Shannon Jr. off the bench, if Terrence Shannon Jr., and this is the thing about the NBA that I love, you never know who's going to give you the minutes that you need. So like Draymond Green being a second round pick, nobody thought he would be what he is. And look at him now. Look at him what he did that first couple, like I think the first 3 years with Golden State. He became a bully that said, I know my role. My role is set picks. My role is being an antagonist, and my role is get rebounds. We know Slow-Mo. He had a role on this team. Terrence Shannon Jr., I think, is going to find his role, which is if I come in, I'm a defender. I'm a main ball defender. Hey, maybe I come in while Anthony Edwards is in, and I'm getting Mike Conley out. Because we know this league, you don't have to have a point guard. Who brought that up? Isaiah Thomas. Because he was saying today's NBA, if you look at who brings the ball up the court, and of course, I think Isaiah was on Draymond's podcast, and he was trying to hate a little bit, but he was saying today's point guard is not what last year's point guard was. These, like Draymond Green is the primary ball handler for getting the play started for the Warriors. Terrence Shannon Jr. could come in and just say, I'm going to come in and play with Ant so that Ant doesn't have to guard the guy that we had him on, and he was absolutely exhausted down the stretch of game 5, game 6. Like that's where maybe Terrence Shannon Jr. gives them that edge. It's 6'6", can move. You watch him at Illinois, he's older, so he's a little bit more mature. I like this pick because, again, that is another long, tall, fast, strong guard that can kind of give you some bully minutes, but also can take it to the hoop as well. He's unselfish. And yeah, I agree with you on that. I think the fact that he was found out guilty, that's going to go away eventually. Like it sucks with the internet today. Like, because if this was 10, 15 years ago, it would have just been not guilty. We'd be done with it. But now the fact that we have so much internet, so much connectivity, so much you can just Google, and it's the first thing that the algorithm sets. And I'm sure like he'll have his team of people, FBI, whatever, they'll eventually scrub some of that stuff and get that off the internet that is like false accusations and people that just want to write blogs just to get clicks. Like they'll get some of that stuff out of there. But I mean, at the end of the day, this kid is going to be a help. Now, we don't know if it's right away, maybe next year, but I'm excited about the the Summer League games now, because I want to see him and Rob Dillingham, and I also want to see another guy in the Summer League. They've already said, I think it's July 12th, we're going to see a Laker game on ESPN July 12th in the Summer League, and we all know why. We know why. Reggie, why? What's going on?
All right. We ready to talk about this? We don't need to go to the sponsors first, Sam.
I thought, no, we don't. We got all day. I thought the Wolves were going to snipe him, Reggie. I thought they were going to make that pick at 53, take Bronny out from under them. But apparently his agent was calling teams and saying, don't take Bronny. He's going to play in Australia, so that the Lakers could get him, right?
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Let's. Okay, we'll keep talking about the Wolves real quick first. So, yesterday, the Wolves basically gave up on Wendell Moore Jr., the experiment from a couple years ago, and they traded him to Detroit, which hopefully he gets some playing time there. But dang, man, like you get traded to Detroit, that's not very fun. Like that's not good. We saw what Monte said. Like when he was like, "Oh man, yeah, with the Wolves now, baby, yeah," because that other team was not was not it. But you talk about
pressure. He was like, "I'm so happy to be here."
like you can feel it. You can feel it. But it's interesting, man, because I went to a ton of Timberwolves games, and you saw Moore, the 26th overall pick of the 22 draft, out of Duke. And I think they saw him as someone who could eventually mature into a guy they could give good rotation minutes to, and it just never panned out. I saw him put the work in, though. He was one of those guys that came out on the court hours before the game started, putting up shots, working with the trainer, my guy Moses, out there working on getting shots up and really just waiting on his opportunity. And it just never really panned out for him. So, that's a tough deal for Moore. Yeah, I think he played something like 54 games. He averaged 1.1 points a game during his time with the Timberwolves. So, like I said, hopefully he gets a chance to play a little bit more in Detroit. But it was just hard to crack the lineup when you're so deep, like the Wolves were, and he was a young guy like that. So, good luck to him. But I guess we'll talk about Bronny. So, look, here's my thing on Bronny. The guy almost died last year. Like, the kid almost died. He went into the cardiac arrest and was able to rebound into being able to play at USC last year. Now, look, you look at his numbers, and it didn't really set the world on fire or anything like that. So, there's a lot of people like, hey, like, I don't even think he should have been drafted. Like, he didn't deserve to be drafted. And you know what? Because LeBron is his dad, that probably did make way for him to get drafted, because maybe he wouldn't have. You look at guys like DJ Burns. DJ Burns was, he dropped all that weight. He was a darling in the NCAA tournament for getting buckets. Like, and we didn't see him go to a team. I think he got picked up by the Cavs as a undrafted free agent. And so, but you look at Bronny, and I saw the emotion that he had on his face when he was surrounded by family and friends, and getting embraced by his mom, and he grabbed that Lakers hat and put it on, and he just kind of sat there and filled with emotion. Like, it means something to him, one, to be drafted into the NBA, two, to go to the Lakers, three, now to join his dad. Like, so many Lakers games that he's gone to on school nights, no less, where he's watching his dad play, and now he gets to be a part of that. So, look, nepotism happens everywhere. Julia's favorite football team in the NFL is overrun with Jer and his children running the team. Someone pointed out, and we see nepotism everywhere. And a lot of people are like, look, LeBron, what's that?
I said it's not going well for them.
No, it's not. Well, yeah, there's that. But you see nepotism everywhere, and so much is said about LeBron, and I think sometimes too LeBron can like throw the rock and hide his hand a little bit. And he's like, look, I'm hands off with any of the team decisions. Like, and even if he didn't say anything, like, LeBron has said enough, in the media spaces that he's been in, to let folks know, like, yo, I want to play with my son. I want to be in the league when my son gets to the league. And, the Lakers, they want LeBron to stay for the rest of his career. So they did what they felt like was necessary. And will LeBron Jr. turn into someone who is a consistent bucket getter and get good minutes in the NBA? That remains to be seen. I think he has a lot of maturing in his game to do, but it's a historic moment in the league. We've never seen anything like that in the NBA, which is really cool. I think it's going to be tough just because, like, that LA pressure is different. And, he's going to have guys in his face asking him questions, and, there are going to be mistakes and missteps and all that stuff. And he's going to be in the spotlight a lot more than maybe some of the other rookies because of who his dad is. So I don't wish that on the kid, but, shout out to him for getting drafted into the NBA, and hopefully he makes the most of his opportunity.
Yeah, so when you think about the nepotism thing, and I'll hit on that a little bit because we've seen everybody talk about it. I do have some very funny anecdotes and stories that people have all started to post now about nepotism within their leagues, NFL, NBA. So it's funny now that it's being looked at, whereas before nobody thought anything of it, whether they're qualified or not. But Julia, what are your thoughts on this one with Bronny to the Lakers?
Yeah, I think this could go, one of two ways. Either, I think, like Reggie said, it is something to be noted that this is just like the first time a father and son are going to be in the league together. It's a remarkable experience. It's something that obviously both of them will never forget. For me, if I know myself, having my mom as a ballet teacher, I was the worst kid in the class. I'm thinking probably it's not the same way when it comes to Bronny and LeBron. I think Bronny is an incredible basketball player, obviously genetically gifted, but because he's worked with his dad for his entire life. So this I could see going well. Does that mean he's going to turn into his dad and be, one of the greatest, if not the greatest NBA player of all time? Not necessarily. And I think that that's a lot of pressure to put on a 19-year-old kid. I think it also is to be noted, like Reggie said, that he had a lot of health issues last year. So it's hard to judge how well he plays at the next level. But I think it's also to be noted that college basketball is a lot different than NBA basketball. And I think that LeBron has really trained Bronny to be an NBA player rather than a college player. And so this could turn out really well for him. It's going to be a huge learning curve, obviously. And there's going to be so much pressure, not just from the media, but working with your dad every single day. I had a conversation with Ryan, our producer, in the office yesterday, and I said, me personally, I don't know if I think it might ruin my relationship with my dad if I were to work with him every single day like this. But then again, they've been doing it for years. They've been doing it his entire life. It's just a little bit different circumstances now because it is win or lose for both of them, depending on the performance. Should they play that much together? That's the other aspect of it too, is, how much is Bronny really going to play with his dad? So I think that it could go a lot of different directions, but overall, let them have their memorable time. This is obviously something that everyone's kind of relishing into because it's the first time a father and son have played together in the league. So it's a very cool circumstance, and I think that we're just going to have to wait and see how it all unfolds.
The word that stands out to me is awkward for a couple different reasons. Number one, it's like if you go to like an R-rated movie with your mom and dad when you're a younger kid, like some of the stuff, it's like awkward being around your parents with, right? And it's like, okay, now your dad is in this NBA locker room with you. D'Lo's goofing off there with the other guys doing, stuff that happens in NBA locker rooms, and now you're there with your son, and that's awkward. Also, what's awkward? JJ Redick has to manage this. JJ Redick is already compromised because of his relationship with LeBron, his friendship with LeBron. That was already going to be tough for him to coach honestly and, have a heavy hand if he has to. That was already going to be tough. Now he's got to bring Bronny into this. Like, okay, hey, LeBron, you want to play with your son, but he's not going to crack our rotation. Like, how is that going to work? If JJ deems that, all right, Bronny's not ready to play and LeBron wants to play with him, how is that going to work? Are you going to throw LeBron in at the end of a game in mop-up time and say, all right, here's your chance, LeBron, I'm going to put you on the court, even though you shouldn't be out here with 4 minutes left and a 20-point deficit? It's like there's just weird dynamics here that I think are going to be really tough for a new head coach who's never coached before to try to manage. That's where my mind goes, is that this is just setting up awkward situations.
Yeah, and the one thing I was going to bring up, so Giannis Antetokounmpo, his brother Thanasis, nepotism. He's never started for a team. He's never given capable minutes to a team. If not for his brother, he's not on that Milwaukee Bucks bench. Let's be real. Like, we watched him play. We've seen his antics. We've seen his lowlights. JaVale McGee is for sure a better player than Thanasis. And so nothing against it. Thanasis is probably like one of the top players in any gym he walks into. Some of these colleges, he'd be a solid player, but he's not he's a 12th man off the bench. And so that's nepotism there. And nobody, I mean, we all joke about it and talk about it, but nobody gets as much media. The difference is Bron is the king of basketball right now. He's one of the greatest to ever play it. And so his son is going to, and I think Reggie mentioned that, his son's going to have press conferences now, and maybe not even play in the game a minute or two. And I think that's going to be the key. How does he navigate having to do press conferences when you really didn't contribute to a game? Maybe LeBron starts putting them in and give him the last shot of a game or something. People are like, what the are we doing? So there's going to be some weird dynamics there. Like LeBron, we've seen highlights of him taking the clipboard from his coach, Darvin Ham, and saying, I got this. Let me write this play up. Is he going to do that to JJ Redick? How does he handle JJ Redick when JJ Redick's not playing his son? Like, there's going to be a lot. Like, if D'Angelo Russell's out there making a fool of himself and he's looking down the bench, like, why isn't my son in the game, JJ? You know, like, it all is going to create a weird dynamic in LA.
And wait to see that.
That's the only reason why I want to see the Summer League. Like, I want to see, does LeBron, because we remember Tyus Jones, and I'm not saying LeBron or Bronny is Tyus Jones. Tyus Jones to me was a pro. But when you remember Tyus, I don't know if you guys remember Tyus Jones Summer League games, he showed right away why he was a star in high school. He showed right away why he was a star at Duke. He didn't go out there and blaze a trail of points. He was efficient. He made the right passes. He was a great teammate. That pick and pass, he was killing it to where people were like, oh, okay, this Tyus Jones kid is a pro. And I think that's what people want to see. Like Amir Coffey. Amir Coffey was not considered a lottery pick. He goes in the summer league and lights it up. He sits on the bench for a while and then comes in the game and lights it up. And now look at him. He's in the league. The kid, what's his name? The other kid from Apple Valley, Gary Trent Jr. You know, again, not nepotism. Gary Trent Jr. earned his way into the league. So there's a lot of situations like that where people have done great because of what their name is or who they know or who they did. Like, but at the end of the day, who cares? Like, we have owners out here whose sons are presidents of the team and they do nothing. Like, so why are we so mad? Like, somebody just brought up Hurley's son at UConn is on the bench with him. Great. Would he be there if his name wasn't Hurley and his dad wasn't the coach? No. So who cares? Let's see what Bronny does. I'm excited to see it. If it is nepotism, it is nepotism. He doesn't play. Like we saw this in the major leagues with King Griffey Jr. He became great. Jr. was end up being better than dad. Not saying this is Bronny, but we just don't know. He's a different player. He's a totally different game. Bryce is the one. Bryce in a couple years, we might be saying he's a top 10 pick because he has the size, he has the range, he has the length, and he's going to be probably 6'6", 6'7". So I could see Bryce James being the next up and coming, but not like a great, but I think he's going to have a better ceiling than his older brother. But when you look at what we got to talk about the rest of the day, we got a little bit of time left. We got to talk about the Lynx. They did win the championship, but like the Lakers won the championship, right? What is that going to mean for the Lynx? We'll talk about all that much more in a minute, but I want everybody to know SiriusXM is a proud partner of Locked On Sports Minnesota. Please download the SiriusXM app. Just search SXM on any app market. When you download the app, it's easy. You're on there now, and then you can download Locked On Sports Minnesota, get all of our shows around the clock. You can listen to Reggie and his love affair for Bronny after July 12th, because July 12th, Bronny steps on the court in an NBA uniform. You might want to check that out, people. Get the SXM app, and you can get the Lakers broadcast. You can get the Twins hometown broadcast. You can just search whatever you're looking for on there, but you can also get Locked On Sports Minnesota. It goes with you. You can download stuff. You can also keep it on your phone when you're on the treadmill. But we'll make sure you do that. I've done it. It is cool because when you hook it up to your speakers outside, people think you have XM radio just all over the house. It's just through your phone. But it's time to talk about these Lynx. I was going to go grab I have a trophy back there that my daughter won in 10U when they won the Nationals. But I'm not going to grab that. I'll let Julia start us off first on the Lynx winning is this the President's Cup?
Commissioners Cup.
Commissioners Cup. What you got for us, Julia?
So they keep the liberty from doing a repeat win of the Commissioners Cup. I think we're also talking about Fee and Asia Wilson, the MVP front runners right now. Fee was the MVP of the Commissioners Cup. And I think she said something along the lines of like, I mean, we're here. What else is there to say? You guys start talking about us a little bit more. I think, the Lynx have had one of the best starts. I just think it's hilarious because last year they were like, this is a rebuild year. We still make the playoff. They go and they like change around their entire roster. Well, not their entire roster, but a lot of their roster this season. And now they have better chemistry than they've had in years. And they're playing better than any of us expected. And they talk about just like how much they just love each other and how that, translates onto the court and how well things are working. And I think that has a lot to do with Nafisa Collier. Comparing her and Asia Wilson, it's hard. And I hate to say it, but I think that Asia right now is getting more media attention. And I think if we're talking about when it comes to Minnesota sports, like I always say, Brock Faber's a perfect example of this last night, not winning the Calder. Minnesota athletes tend to get overlooked when it comes to big awards like that. So it wouldn't shock me if Fee didn't win MVP. Does that mean she's any less deserving? No, but I think also there's a lot of time to figure out who that goes to. Obviously a historic season for the W, and Asia Wilson's on track to have a historic solo season herself. So that's yet to be seen, but I think Minnesota fans can rest easy knowing that Fee is leading this team. And obviously with the Commissioners Cup win, that is evidence of that in and of itself.
Yeah, I think that Asia Wilson is the best player on the planet, but team success does go a long way in the MVP race. So, I mean, if you look at the FanDuel odds, Asia Wilson is a bit of a runaway favorite right now. Fee is number 2, but she's a ways back. But I think if the Lynx have a second half like they had a first half, if their final record is, and I know they slipped up against the Wings yesterday, but if they finish with 26, 28, 30 wins, it's going to be tough to deny their best player the MVP award, especially if she increases her production just a tick. If she's averaging 22 and 10, I know Asia Wilson's at 28 and 11 right now. It's tough to argue with that. She's won multiple MVPs, Defensive Player of the Year, Rookie of the Year. The Aces are champions. But the Aces are only 9-6 right now, right? So if the Aces end up like a 500 team and the Lynx are the best in the West, I think there's a legitimate case for Nafisa.
Yeah, and the Aces got Chelsea Gray back, which they've been surging a little bit since she came back. So you got to factor that in as well. And Asia just playing out of her mind. But I think that the Lynx have a good shot to go deep into the postseason this year. And if you put them in a series against the Aces, I think they got a chance. And so, shout out to the Lynx for winning the Commissioners Cup. That was really cool. I like the sass from Cheryl where she's just like, look, they got to talk about us. Let them talk because they got to talk about us. What we're doing here should be talked about. And, talk your cash, Cheryl. I'm here for it. Of course, the letdown happened yesterday. I was just not expecting them to ever lose again. I don't know. It's just, it happened. But, yeah, I think they're in good position this year to go far.
Well, hopefully they don't end up like the NBA Commissioners Cup champions or in-season tournament champions.
Yeah.
And they actually and they make a run for it. But I'm Ron Johnson. That's Reggie Wilson. That's Julia Danz and Sam Ekstrom. Make sure you guys join us every week. The Roundtable is here. Tell a friend that we're here. Tell a friend to tell a friend that we're here. And make sure you guys subscribe on YouTube. You can get all of our shows. That's Wild Wolves, Vikings, and Timberwolves. I want to thank you guys and have a great weekend.